Hello, good evening, and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Goel Company Limited, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, and Meridian Port Services (MPS). This show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show tonight. We are streaming live on our social media pages on Facebook. We are streaming live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are streaming live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Eye on Port. Eye on Port. As usual, we shall be getting interactive with you, and so all you have to do is send us some messages and comments ahead via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559-019-177. 0559-019-177. And when the time is ripe, I shall pick signals from our production team, and we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we bounce back, we'll continue the show. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goel makes good things happen. This time, Goel has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goel Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goel Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goel Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goel Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goel has that sorted. Goel, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
All right, so you're welcome back. It's now time for us to take at stories from the international space. Let's take a look at these stories.
The latest maritime transport report from UNCTAD has warned that greenhouse gas emissions from the world's maritime fleet increased by 4.7% between the year 2020 and 2021, with most of the increase coming from container ships, dry bulk carriers, and general cargo vessels. Another worrying trend is the fact that the fleet's average age is also rising and older ships pollute more. By the number of ships, the current average age is 21.9 years and the carrying capacity 11.5 years, UNCTAD said. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development said that only about 6% of the post-COVID stimulus funding was allocated to cutting greenhouse gas emissions. Now, with the war in Ukraine and its impact, decarbonization might be pushed further down the priority list. AP Moller Maersk and IBM have announced their decision to abandon their blockchain-based global trade platform known as TradeLens after it failed to generate enough users. Maersk launched TradeLens in collaboration with IBM in 2018 to promote efficient and secure global trade by helping to manage and track the millions of shipping containers trading globally by digitizing manual and paper-based systems across the supply chain. By nature, the platform's success is heavily dependent on widespread industry participation. Although the platform has steadily added companies, port authorities, and other entities to its user base, the platform has apparently failed to reach the critical mass needed to make it viable.
All right, so those were some stories from the international shipping space. We're now taking a message from the Ghana Revenue Authority. Indeed, recently they had cause to issue a disclaimer to some fake news that was being circulated heavily on social media. And the statement was signed by the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. It says, disclaimer, no levies on luxury vehicles. I read, it says the attention of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has been drawn to a purported letter from the authority being circulated on social media titled Implementation of Luxury Vehicle Levy. This said letter states that the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has been authorized to collect an annual levy imposed on luxury vehicles with high engine capacities. Now, GRA wishes to inform the general public that this publication was not issued by the authority and its contents are completely false. No levies have been imposed on luxury vehicles, and neither is the DVLA authorized to collect any such levies. Now, the GRA therefore urges the public to disregard the said publication and further cautions those spreading the false information to desist from doing so. Investigations are currently being carried out into the source of this misleading information, and persons found to have deliberately fabricated and circulated this information will be sanctioned appropriately. GRA wishes to advise its customers and the general public to verify information on taxes and levies or any information relating to the authority by contacting us on 0800 900 110, 0800 900 110, also on info@gra.gov.gh, info@gra.gov.gh, or by WhatsApp on 0552 990 000, 0552 990 000, and 0200 631 664, 0200 631 664. This is signed by the Commissioner General, Ghana Revenue Authority. And so you need to be very cautious so that you are not defrauded, and then miscreants perhaps would want to cash in on this and take your money. So beware and be cautious in your dealings with the public as far as this particular thing is concerned. It's now time for us to take the word of the day. And today's phrase of the day is customs broker. Customs broker.
A person or firm licensed by the customs authority of their country, when required, engaged in entering and clearing goods through customs for a client.
All right, so you're welcome back. It's now time for us to zoom into our discussion proper tonight. And tonight we're taking a look at the relevance of the freight forwarder in the global shipping space. Now, most of them we call them freight forwarders, others call them customs house agents, others also call them clearing agents. Whichever way, they are the interface between, the important public and the ports, or where they go to clear the cargo. And so we have no better persons to do this particular discussion than two heavyweights. They are both former presidents of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. I will begin by introducing the man on my left. He is Mr. Joseph Agbaga, a former president, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. He's also an astute freight forwarder for that matter. And indeed, to my right is Mr. Kwabna Ofosu-Appiah, also a former president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. And he's also an astute freight forwarder in his own right. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome. I call them Mr. Presidents. Anywhere I meet any of them, I say Mr. President because they've been president of GIF, perhaps raising through the ranks to that particular high position. Recently, GIF held the annual general meeting in Authority-GPHA. I just want to find out from you what your key points or takeaways from that particular AGM was. It wasn't which one? What was the edition? Yes, like the 25th. Yeah. Wow, that's silver anniversary. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so tell us what your key points or takeaways were.
Not to pretend to be speaking for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, but yes, we are all members, and we've been doing it for 25 times now. Yes. The COVID movement nearly brought disorder, but we managed it. So it was Christian, our relevance in the space. I mean, looking at the global turbulence in the supply chain arena. So we went, we had fun, but overall, the theme really focused our perspective into the future, where you see all around us ICT, the disruptions that it is coming with, and how after 25 years of doing 25th annual general meeting. Yeah. So for us, it was a period to take heavy stock, to look at how we have come far. Of course, AGMs presents the opportunity for you to take stock. Right. And so we did that. We cut a huge cake that heralded us into the activities of the AGM. It was a very successful one. I mean, I didn't see you there, but hopefully next year.
You didn't invite me. So what were the key persons that came? I know the Minister for Transport was there.
Exactly.
I know Madam Benonita Bismarck was there. Perhaps the Eastern Regional.
No, we had the overlord of Authority-GPHA.
Okay.
Asibre.
Yes.
I don't want to mention and butcher his name, but he was there with us. And the Eastern Regional Minister, great. In fact, it was heavily, it was very heavily packed with heavyweights.
Great.
You can say that.
You are a very, formidable, and reputable organization. So, I mean, you draw the heavyweights when it comes to some of these things. Mr. President, Mr. Agbaga, let me find out from you. I saw you there as well. Tell me what your perception about this 25th AGM was.
But you said you were not there.
I wasn't there, but I saw you. I read the news online, and I saw you. I saw the pictures.
The only entity that leads the trading public, or that plays the intermediary role between the trading public and government.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, between the trader and then the carrier of the consignment from overseas.
Yes.
We've been through a thick and thin. In the time past, the forwarding, the clearing and forwarding entity are personalities that runs after customs for doing the clearance for people and taking small, or to take some remuneration until such a time that I think the government saw that these people should be given another facelift.
Right.
So the government of that time came up with a decision that you cannot do clearance until you form a company.
Right.
And that company also must have someone who is trained and licensed by customs to do custom business.
Right.
So that was the birth of the companies that do freight forwarding, especially the indigenous one.
Right.
In those days, we would talk of Glamour stores and UTC, and UAC. Yeah. They do their own in-house clearance. Yeah. So until such time that the Ghanaians came together, trained themselves, and formed companies to do a proper customs brokerage. So we've been through till today.
Yeah.
The Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders itself starts by name. What is it? NACHA, National Association of Custom House
Agents.
Okay. Until our forebearers, Mr. Frank Sapon, Kofi Brakun, Robert Kuti Jr., Carlos Kinsley Ahenkra.
Yeah.
Then they came together to say that, look, they have been doing these things, or we have been doing these things without any proper structure. So why don't we look forward and constitute ourselves into an institute? Then the word institute came into focus because we want to educate ourselves in the first place, so that we can be the forerunner between the trading public and government. And therefore, we must know what it entails to import and export goods.
Right.
All the rules of the game we should be able to abreast ourselves with, so that when we stand between the government and the trading public, we will be able to deliver competently.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so you just mentioned the toll list. Carlos Ahenkra, and Kofi Brako, together with a current one, they've ventured into politics, and they're not doing badly at all. They became MPs, apart from the Honorable Kofi Brako, who lost out, during their primaries to another MPP person. But they are not doing badly. What have you got to say to that? Have they been able to help you in any way? Because these were people who identified the challenges that you had. They rose to the highest echelons of GAFE. Kofi Brako was one-time president. Carlos Ahenkra was one-time president. And they know what the issues are, what the challenges are. They've trumpeted them over and over again. And they had the opportunity. Carlos, for instance, became deputy trade minister, and so was in a key position to be able to, appreciate all these issues and perhaps turn things around. Have you been able to draw this benefit from them, having ventured into politics and perhaps considering the fact that they belong to your fold and would bring some relief to you?
You realize that, let me start from Honorable Kofi Brako. When he first entered Parliament, that was when we had the opportunity to look at the legislative instrument, 2248. And trust you me, 2248, the legislative instrument. 891, he was there all right. When we were going to do the LI, he was very pivotal in there. I mean, he was a person who even, to put it correctly, step on our feet for us to also position ourselves well to see how we can affect what goes in and what comes out. Of course, we did our best then to make our inclusion. Some were accepted, some were not accepted. Some were used to modify the situation as was going to be presented then. Because most of the times when these things are being done and you are not there, then it is cut for you. Once it passes through Parliament, it is law. And like you rightly said, Honorable Carlos Aingra now is the chairman of the Trade Select Committee on Trade and Industry. And his input, I mean, this is somebody who is right from the stables. And so you know that his input is helping to shape. But when you talk about the impact, now this is the politics of the land. And you know that the politics of our land sometimes does not so much carry on board the interest of the practitioners. Sad to say this, but that is the reality. And as we go forward, these are some of the things we need to pinpoint and redress if we want to move forward as a nation. I'm sure when the conversation wears on, we will be able to touch on some of these issues.
Mr. President, yes, would you want to comment on that? Have you felt the impact of, the politicians that have come from your fold and what they are doing to better your lot as freight forwarders in the country?
Well,
at least you produced 3 MPs.
Yes, that is true.
Could be more.
That is true.
We have more.
Right.
That is true, but when it comes to matters of policy,
yes,
and policy that drive the nation's trade, and participants or stakeholders are overwhelming, and each stakeholder has their peculiar interest as to what they feel will make their work easier for them. But most often also, though we have some people from our folks, they are only just a lone ranger. They may give their input, but if their input did not survive, it means that the rest of the people, it means that though they have made an input, but their input will be swallowed.
Right.
So most often those things happen. Like Kwabna said, I have made mention to someone elsewhere that when it comes to policies, there is, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, when it comes to VAT issue that came up even at our AGM. What is VAT?
Right.
It's value added tax. Yeah. But to me, what we are saying is, it is written or it is on paper VAT, but we are practicing something else that I could say that is sales tax.
It's what?
Sales tax.
Okay.
Sales tax.
Sales tax, okay.
Why am I saying this? If the production of this water cost 10 cedis, the materials that went into it is 10 cedis.
Right.
Then when you are going to sell, or let's say the raw materials cost 10 cedis.
Right.
By the time you finish, you have 12 cedis. So you have two figures. The cost of production plus the cost of raw material. That makes it 12 cedis. So what is the value added? 10 and 2, which of these two figures becomes the value added? It is the 2 cedis. But how do we exact VAT on products?
On both the raw materials.
Yes, now we are exacting the VAT on both the raw material and then the value added. The value added is 2 cedis. So payment should be on only the 2 cedis and not
the entire
total 12 cedis. That is how I look at it. That is how I look at it. Because if my memory serves me right, when VAT was about to be introduced into Ghana first, we were taken to the classroom.
Right.
And those were the methods.
It was explicit that
Yes.
cost of raw materials was going to be was not going to be part of the
Yes.
the cost for VAT.
Yes.
Okay.
But you see, I can understand policy implementers somehow because it becomes more difficult to do these segregations. And it is easier to say that pay on all the 12 than either all the 12 or only 2.
Right.
Now, from one manufacturer to another manufacturer, there could be variances. So it becomes subjective that who is telling the truth.
Right.
So sometimes when you think around it, you understand them that it is said that no one wants to pay tax, and therefore whatever the state want to exert or impose on you, they will do so and impose it. So these are some of the things that happens in the policy space.
Right. Okay, so now we come to me. So, are you also planning on joining the bandwagon, not the bandwagon, so to speak, following the footsteps of your leaders? I understand you've been visiting your constituency pretty often these days.
No. Ken, this one is below the belt. I mean, you know, even politicians will come back to tell you that they are listening at their people. So
yes.
We are still doing some more listening.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I just want to find out from you, what were some of the, at the end of every AGM, I've followed you to AGMs on several occasions, and at the end of it all, there's always this communique that you issue or resolutions. I just want to find out from you what the issues were that you focused on in the release of this particular ES communique.
Okay. I think we rehashed a lot of what happened last year, and in listening to the president, Eddie Akron, he touched on, we just launched a development plan, okay, our strategic development plan going forward. So right. he touched on our brand image and how we're going to use technology to advance our cause into the future. Okay. So, I mean, that is the theme, the key. If you look at our theme and so we can summarize the whole of the communique as, of course, other things came up as time, which is very critical to everything that we do. But the focus or the fulcrum of this year's communique was how we will have to take steps to achieve the variables or the goalposts in our strategic plan going forward, particularly our placement in ICT. Very, it came out very, in a very poignant manner.
Mr. President, is there anything you want to share with us in addition to what he has said with regards to some of the salient issues that came up that you captured in this year's resolution or communique?
I think he has said all, because the relevance of the freight forwarder in the global space as far as international business is concerned. Yeah. And it's not only international business, but it covers both domestic and international business.
Absolutely, yeah.
The relevance can never be dispensed of. No matter how you introduce technology, there is always the human aspect that need to make things happen.
Right.
So technology, as he said, is a tool that we will always strive to use in order to make our work easier. So in that space, yes, technology or ICT is much more relevant than ever before, especially 2020 taught us something. I have always talked about, even before 2020, I have always talked about even using the internet to communicate to the stakeholders within our space, the shipping line, the terminal handlers, that we could communicate without moving to their office.
Right.
And I remember Grimaldi took lead with few people that they communicate through the through the email system,
right,
in order to get things done.
Yeah.
Before even the COVID setting.
Okay.
Banking, you should be able to sit in
the
your
comfort of your office
comfort
and
of your office.
do transactions,
do your transactions, and so it's more of a tool to facilitate trade.
Well, so let me come to you, Mr. Ofosu-Appiah, and find out from you what your assessment of the performance of your industry for 2022 has been so far.
2022, you see, 2021 was a very checkered one, you know, just rolling out of COVID and its attendant issue of the skyrocketing freight rates and all of that, you know, when the boxes got stuck all over the world, particularly in North America. And so it began to stabilize, but didn't drop. It didn't drop any drastically. So we were just about heaving a sigh of relief in 2022 when by some kind of arrangement the Russian-Ukraine also set in. And whether remotely or directly, it has not been a very useful exercise for us, you know. Right. You see, because the hyperinflation, the fact that we import just about everything, okay, and that is the space we cover. And if our trader suffers from these kinds of distortions, you realize that it affects us directly. So 2022, it's been extremely horrible, you know. My grandmother used to say that when they say the allergy has fallen into the pond, then you are asking of his batakari. Of course, you're asking whether the batakari got wet. Yeah. Of course it will get wet.
Absolutely.
You see, so if you hear a lot of the cries from the trader, you know, in this space when we say trader, we are not just looking at the folk who goes to buy and come and sells in the market. I mean, we are talking about international trade. So anybody who finds himself in cross-border trade, the WTO enjoins us to refer to such folks as traders.
Right.
So the trader's fortune has dwindled. And once he's not going out there to import, or he's not importing in that quantity, you know the situation of the city. If you were getting 1 million, if you were using let's say, if it is 15 cedis now to $1, you can see the erosion of their money. Yeah. So it directly affects somebody who used to do 15 boxes, has cut it drastically to 2. And if you are his agent or his forwarder, you realize that it directly affects you. So it has not been a pleasant year at all, and the effect of it is that bad. We're just hoping and praying that as we struggle to find our grounding, some miracle will happen. Trust you me.
So what you want to tell me is that your Brenda Freight Consult has not made any liquid this year?
I mean, we're surviving, you know. We're surviving. And it's not been easy. It's not been easy, but we're surviving.
Mr. President, JSPD, have you made some good cash 2022?
Like Kwabena said,
you're surviving.
You only have to survive. You only have to look at your plans that you wish to have done. You need to suspend everything. Even your expenditure at home, you need to look at it.
Yeah.
You need to even move your vehicle from your house to a place only if it is necessary. If not, stay back home. You could do...
And work remotely.
And work remotely. That is how you can cut expenditure. Of course, some of the expenditures are constant. Your electricity bill, your water bill. If you are renting, your rent is the same or either it's increasing. It's increasing. So it's a checkered time. But as far as you have life, you only hope that we will all together turn things around.
I've been told you guys have not laid off staff.
No, we have not had any concerted conversation along that line. It's interesting you've come up with it like this, but we've not had any huge story from our members that they've laid off. I mean, I just hope that we will be able to keep ourselves together. I mean, that also depends on how long this excruciating environment grinds.
Okay. Because it came up because Mr. Gbaga rightly alluded to the fact that you need to be measured in your movement to save fuel cost. And, perhaps when you were sleeping in the AC, now you have to enjoy some frama kakra, that kind of thing, just to lower the cost and the expenditure. Let me find out from you what you think the relevance or importance of the freight forwarder is in the global supply chain.
Okay, so you realize that we keep talking about survival. I mean, I want to place this question in context. The Ghanaian freight forwarder. Earlier on, your word for the day, customs broker. So if you want to place it in the Ghanaian context, when you look at this interpretation of our 891, it says a customs house agent means a person who is granted a license to carry out customs business. Simplicity. Okay, but then you also mentioned the supply chain, and that takes it notches higher. Okay, because the goods will have to move from somewhere through processes before it gets to the point where the customs business has to be done. Okay, that is a significant part of it, but not the major part of it. Okay, and that is why you have to be licensed by customs, because, like the word goes, customs is a certain tradition, the tradition of the land. You need to follow the tradition of the land for the goods to be entered. Now, the global supply chain has taken time to shape itself, and we cannot take ourselves out of it. Okay, now we here have led this business mostly by interfacing with customs. But something interesting is happening. When you mention supply chain and logistics, you realize that we were supposed to have evolved into third-party logistics providers. But unfortunately, a lot of us just stayed at the freight forwarder, even the customs brokerage point, okay? And I keep telling our folks that, look, probably legislation can come and legislation may come to prescribe our intervention, okay? If you look at the WTO agreement, you see that there's a copious attempt to check or to encourage the freedom of the trader to do self-declaration. Okay. If you look at even the recently read budget, you can see that there is an introduction of a provision to encourage that. I mean, vigorously encourage that. Okay, so you realize that any time these aspects, and it's a WTO demand, let's not think that it just dropped from nowhere. Any time that the attempt is made to strengthen the hands of the trader to do his own, to get his own interface with customs, as a practitioner, when I scan my immediate surrounding, if I have to consider my threat situations, I will put it in there.
Right.
Okay. And that's the only thing, I mean, that's one of the major things we must do if we want to survive. We should be able to scan our environment and place where the threats are. Of course, we might have certain opportunities in there too. We need to do that. We shouldn't be afraid to do this.
Right.
That does not make us pessimists. It just makes you a realist. You should be able to see what is happening around you. Because elsewhere, it has happened. Okay? Because the question one asks is, what is this that the customs broker can do that I cannot do? So I keep telling our folks that, look, even if it is legislated, let's shift focus from allowing statutory demands to shape us, okay? Let's redirect our attention to the trader. He is a kingpin. The last time I said he is a prima donna of our existence. And your predecessor, Samuel Ajiman, laughed. He keeps taunting me with that description. But the trader is the prima donna of our existence, okay? I hear the marketing people say that the adage of the customer being the king is an old one now. The marketing folks are now telling us that, look, you need to wow the customer, meaning that you have to up the game. See, once you know what to do to wow the customer or the trader, what it means is that legislation or no legislation, once you're able to plug yourself even into his logistics arrangement, if you are able to plug yourself into his supply chain architecture, you can sit back and say, why do I have to create this department in my unit or in my establishment? Okay, what are we doing to up our game along the ICT route? You see, there, as we speak today, there are tools awash. Enterprise resource planners, vendor managed inventory systems, and a host of them. These things are very expensive, but as a people, as a group, as an association, is it possible for us to develop an ecosystem that helps our traders to tap into the capacity that we have developed? Okay? Because the trader goes elsewhere to source. Right. Okay? His inventory will have to be managed in a way. Do we have systems in place that can help the trader manage his inventory? Right. Yes. Is the trader able to afford it? The answer is no. Can we use our numbers to build capacity? Capacity as in knowledge and as in the ICT architecture? Yes. Yes. You know, so for, you know, we tried it. We tried it in time past. When I was president of GIF, we tried it, but it looks like the communication did not go down well. Maybe we were a bit too optimistic. Right. Okay, so people did not immediately get the concept. They didn't really catch the fever. But it doesn't mean that we should stop it. See, if we're able to endear ourselves to the trader, if we are, can you imagine if, let me use, not running any advert for it, okay, let me use any of these big time supermarkets that we have in place. If their agent, their forwarder, had the capacity to plug their inventory system, how they source goods from outside, and he's also monitoring. Okay, can you imagine the burden that it would have lifted off their shoulders? And the fact that we are getting it at a certain, probably discounted rate because of our numbers. Okay, now these are conversations that we must have going forward, so that statutory arrangements or no statutory arrangement, whatever the government feels or does not feel, when the trader sees our relevance, then we are relevant.
Right. The word prima donna kind of sounds sexy. Can you tell us what that is?
No, the prima donna is just, you know, when you have an opera, a musical scene, an opera, you know, various folks come to sing, but the position is reserved for one person to come and wow. I mean, it's like the kingpin.
The others are guest artists, but the main artists.
So for us, the trader is our prima donna.
Right. Okay. All right. So, Mr. President, Mr. Agwaga, you have evolved over the years in carrying out your business as freight forwarders. Can you tell us how this journey has been?
Before I answer your question, I want to add to what Kwabena has just said. Because we were asking about the relevance.
Yes.
And what I want to say is that freight forwarders, whether what is enshrined in the WTO trade facilitation agreements or what has just been read by our government as to encourage traders themselves to do their own thing.
Yeah.
It is an old thing. Already in Ghana, we are practicing the hybrid.
Okay.
We have companies who do their own thing called the self-declarance. And we have the second part who are third-party logistics service providers, like he made mention, that you clear for a third party. And self-declarance cannot clear for a third party.
Right.
So that hybrid has been there. But I think the freight forwarders have gone beyond that. We've seen this coming, and I must say that we are becoming more sophisticated and we are aware of our customers. And knowing that international transport solution does not lie in isolation.
Right.
In isolation, but it should be a partnership between the customer and the freight forwarder.
Okay.
And that is where also he made mention that against this backdrop of this, the use of ICT in order to make things happen even more quicker than it is. Now, coming back to your question.
Yeah.
Evolving, yes, I think I have made mention earlier on in my first submission how the Ghanaian freight forwarding industry evolved to now. So I don't think I should go back
further
to make mention of how we started by assisting customs and traders who come with their small wares. Then there is nothing called entry, but customs will write a landing account and then they will refer you to the cashier. You go and pay, they give you a receipt, you bring it back, they stamp it for you, they check for you, and then you are gone. But now, we've moved forward.
Yeah.
Then the introduction of
paperless.
We started by entries that have color coding. Then from there we moved to Asikuda. From Asikuda is partially electronic and partially manual.
Before we move to the destination inspection?
Before we move to the GCNet, the pre-shipment era also was part of the Asikuda time until we moved to the GCNet era. Up until 2020, when we moved, 2015, there was a split that we have to deal with two different entities,
West
both
Blue?
the West Blue and then
GCNet.
GCNet. We were in there until 2020 that both teams have to give way to the current integrated customs management system. So that is how the clearance industry has evolved. And the new thing that this system we have added, it is not that it was not there before, but regulators to give way, because the law has been there, that you should be able to do what? A pre-entry and pay your duties before even the arrival of the ship. It is, you can find this also in the Kyoto Convention that we are encouraged to do all these things. And we have this thing also in our act. That is the 891, both the 330, PNDC law 330, and that gave way to Act 891. But we are not practicing it until this era that it was taken aboard. So we have moved a notch higher. This space is, we can always see something that is not right, and we can continue to perfect it.
Mr. President, let me find out from you. Everybody, even the ordinary man on the street, basically knows that when they say freight forwarder or the clearing agent or a customs house broker, all you do is to get a client and clear the fellow's consignment from the port for the person. Rightfully, you mentioned that under normal circumstances, you should have been third-party logistics providers. I just want to find out from you, beyond this basic, what do we call it, duty that you have as freight forwarders, what are some of the, things that you do?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, you see, the freight forwarder is the liaison, okay, between the trader and the shipping lines, the trader and the airlines, the trader and the truck owners, the trader and government agencies, customs being chief in there. Because you interface with Food and Drugs Authority, Environmental Protection Authority. You see, the freight forwarder negotiates prices. See, because he doesn't deal with either one trader or one agency, he has honed a certain expertise, okay, by cutting across. And that relationship that, see, if you're a trader, it could just be that in the whole year, you import twice. Okay, so it is not even rational for you to expend resources, time and money to cultivate a shipping line. But the freight forwarder continuously interacts with all of them. Today you go to Maersk line, tomorrow you go to another line, today you go to Air Ghana, tomorrow today you go to Alhaji Musa for his trucks, the next day you go to Alhaji Sofiano for his truck. So whilst doing this, you have created a certain relationship, you have created a certain network. That is what the trader has not got. Okay, and this is what makes the forwarder that unique entity who brokers, even insurance. Because insurance is like a market. Sometimes the kind of leads you take to the insurance company makes them treat you differently. They could give you a premium based on the kinds of business that you give them. And because you are not the one doing the import really, you could also decide a very important trader of yours to offload this goodwill to. Okay, so the freight forwarder, in a nutshell, has established network. The network that will make the life of the trader easy. That's why you find that you can find a quintessential freight forwarder who is a customs broker, an insurance broker in quote. He goes out to look for the best modes of even transport.
Right.
Can even advise you that this stuff that you are bringing in, okay, let's bring it to Tema by this mode, or even let's
airlift it.
Let's airlift it, or let's bring part through sea, and let's bring part through Tema, air. You know, so he has the bird's eye view. Let me put it so. He has a bird's eye view of the activities that gives you the platform for you to do your importation.
Right.
Okay. So in a nutshell, that is what the freight forwarder is. But then you see one of the stories that for the foreign story, when you touch on the blockchain, and then Maxline and IBM, it didn't work out so well. But I don't think they've cancelled it. Okay. Now you see that everything that we do at a certain point, once it is international trade, it crosses a certain border to another country.
Right.
Now, if you look at the World Trade Organization agreement too, there's a section that talks about customs to customs cooperation. This is becoming a difficult ask for the customs entities.
Right.
Okay. Whatever that it is human endeavor. One day, that will be resolved.
Yeah.
Some countries are not so enthused about, particularly the countries in the Far East, China being the chief whip. They are not so much enthused about these arrangements of excessive intrusion.
Right.
They want their trade space to be that liberalized. They want to cut business first before, huge regulations and all of that.
Right.
You see, and a lot of the things we do here, if you ask the revenue collectors, they tell you one of their major problems is compliance.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is it is because of compliance. That's why we have the Technical Service Bureau.
Right.
It's because of the risks therein. That is why we have compliance officers. That is why we have examination officers.
Right.
That is why we have post-clearance audit.
Yeah.
That is why we have all the plethora of even other state agencies who have interest in the port. It's just because of compliance.
Right.
Okay, so let's create a utopian situation where the factor or the scepter of compliance is resolved.
Right.
Okay. Blockchain was supposed to be one such tool. Okay. But then there must be some architecture on the ground to consume the resultants of blockchain.
Right.
So if the countries that are supposed to benefit from the blockchain do not have the facilities in place, if the trader has not got the capacity to tap it or to establish a blockchain arrangement, then you can see that this is going to be a difficulty.
Right.
And for what Maxline and IBM wanted to do, trust you me, if they succeed in reintroducing it again as a result of probably the mileage that customs to customs arrangement would have gone in the future.
Right.
This was definitely going to change the architecture of how we do cross-border trade.
Right.
And that is why it is very, very imperative for ourselves to look at this as a very reasonable possibility and begin to position ourselves not to be surprised by some of these introductions. Because when these things happen and we are not prepared, trust you me, not every customs broker will go home.
Right.
But quite a lot will go home. Yeah.
I'm yet to come to that particular aspect of whether you have outlived your usefulness.
That one, no.
All right.
Not.
I'll come to that. But let me find out from Mr. President, Mr. Agboga, and I want to find out from you whether there are instances where you are able to go out of your way to mediate between an importer and those he bought the cargo from outside the country. For instance, I have imported something, and I come and hand you my documents as my freight forwarder who's supposed to clear for me, and you maybe realize some discrepancies or you face some challenges in the course of trying to clear them. Are you able to go through those that I purchased from and perhaps deal with them on my behalf as an importer?
In the first place, I also want to complete.
You want to finish
with Kwabna's point? I want to add something to it. The blockchain, as you made mention that they are abandoning it. Yes, Kwabna is right to say that they are not going to abandon it. It's only because the structures that it must interface with for them to make the real meaning of the reasons why they are bringing that tool it has not been met.
Right.
That is why they may suspend it and go back to work at it.
Right.
And I suspect that already they are working at it. How are they working at it? It is said that now every export that will emanate from anywhere, they want first 6 digits HS to be assigned to it. Right?
Right.
So it is not for nothing. It is because of this same compliance issue that Kwabna said. So as an industry, like Kwabna keeps saying, we need to look beyond the statement and find out what are the reasoning behind and start making steps so that we will not be caught on the wrong foot.
Right. Right.
Now, to the question that you posted.
Yeah, whether you're able to go out of your way to deal with my partners abroad.
In the first instance, the forwarder did not pack the goods. He wasn't there when the goods were purchased. You can only be informed by way of giving, by copying you the documents.
Right.
And if truly you have been copied from the onset, you should be able to identify any documentary error that can be corrected before even the vessel sails.
Right.
And that is the reason why the relevance or the role of the freight forwarder is mostly and much more important.
Right.
So that by the time the goods gets to destination, it can move in trouble-free.
Right.
And you will not be able to also assist your customer if you don't have the in-depth knowledge.
Right.
And that is why always, as a forwarder or as a custom broker, you must be a storehouse of knowledge.
Yes. You must be widely read.
Yes. You must be a storehouse of knowledge so that you will be able to understand the nuances of trade.
Right.
One of them is how to interpret the sales contract, the Incoterms and all those things.
Yeah.
They have specific, the specific things that the exporter, where the exporter starts and where he ends, and where the importer also take over the liabilities. So these are all things that you need to learn.
Right.
And the older you are in the industry and you learn, the better you become.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. So this is our report here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we are looking at the relevance of the freight forwarder in the global shipping space. With me in the studios, Mr. Joseph Agwaga, former president, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, and Mr. Kwabna Ofosu-Appiah, also former president, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. We are going for a quick break. When we come back, we shall continue the discussion. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Go Super XP Run 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Go Super XP Run 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Go Super XP Run 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Go Super XP Run 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Child, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
All right, so you're welcome back. We are moving straight into the discussion once more, but I've been told by the production team that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. The number to dial is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Now, I asked the question about whether you have outlived your relevance as freight forwarders, and you gave me an outright response that no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You see, Ken, you know, in all of my presentation, you can see a theme running through, endearing ourselves to the trader, rediscovering ourselves, going into the survival mode, wowing the trader, and insisting that no matter what the legislations or statutory developments are, once we show relevance to the trader, we are in business. Right. You see, unfortunately, we have had the statutory situation aid to a very large extent our development. Today, a law comes, a freight forwarder or a customs broker must be, because freight forwarders are not licensed to work. It's a certain capacity that you build and then you are in business. Yes. It is the customs broker who is licensed by the state authority. Yes. Okay. Now, so statutorily, the law comes, you shall do this, thou shalt do this, thou shalt do that, and then you do it.
Yeah.
And increasingly, that is what has defined who has become known as the freight forwarder or the customs broker.
Yeah.
Now, it is about time we ourselves take the bulls by the horn and redefine how we want to be seen in the space. Okay? And we have our job cut out for us. Who are we defining or redefining ourselves to please? The trader.
Yeah.
Okay? So, if you look at the third-party logistics provision, we have not so much tapped or built capacity to the levels of the global standard.
Right.
Then comes in the fourth-party logistics service provision, where...
Tell us about the third party and the fourth party. What's the difference?
Okay, so what we do now mostly mimics the third party, where you stand in, even though you don't have the assets.
Right.
You stand in, you know where to get the assets, you know how to, you have built a network, you know how to present negotiated situations to your client.
Right.
So you give your client, the trader, the respite for going to look for shipping lines, airlines, trucks, here and there, customs brokerage. You have taken that bit of it. That much describes the third-party logistics provision. Now, the whole world is even chasing the fourth and the fifth-party logistics arrangement, okay? That is why even if you listen to our conversations, a lot of the time when you see us sit around, we talk about multinationals taking our business from us. The multinational is layering on the fourth party. Okay? He's increasingly endearing himself to the trader.
Yeah.
And the fourth party brings in a copious amount of ICT and the tools therein. Yeah. You know, during the break, I was referencing Ms. Agbage's issue on how they even advise for some of the shipping lines to stop we having to go to them to pick documents and all of that. The least they could do was to provide email connectivity. But that is not efficient. Even though effectively it solved a certain problem, it is not efficient.
Right.
We need to digitalize that connectivity. Okay, because 1,000 times you send the email, somebody will have to be at the other end to receive it.
Right.
If he doesn't receive it, then now you take phone, and sometimes they tell you that once you send the email, it's okay, we'll respond. But if nobody responds, you are there.
Right.
So it defeats that arrangement of even having the email set up. So you end up even asking your whoever is in charge of that process to now take the car and go there.
Yeah.
You see? But of course, the shipping line is not going to develop an interface for you, and that is an ICT architecture, house it, pay for it, just because you can have. You see, I'm going to make a statement here. It is not as if I am not saying that this is what the shipping line has launched out to do. But whether by design or by default, time and the lack of it is a model that gives them money. If your email is supposed to be answered to in 5 minutes and it takes 48 hours to be answered to, it means that if you are supposed to take your box in the next 2 hours, and it has taken 48 hours for your emails to be answered to, you are going to take your box probably in 49 or, 72 hours. And where that happens, it counts against you. Because you are not going to go back to them and tell them that, look, I sent my email
on this day,
on this time and this day, and because you didn't respond, waive the demurrage. That is not part of the conversation. You see, so we need to properly digitalize, okay, and get our systems in place so that we can push a certain conversation. When the cargo lands, there must be performance indicators. At what point do you say that the cargo is ready for the trader to pick it? When that is known, the system records it. Everybody is aware of that. If we had a system, and the shipping lines also had a system, once that clock time is ticked, it means that whatever processes that you have done to say cargo is ready, it will be in a certain pool for our system to assess. It will not be dependent on somebody being in his good mood to check his email or not to check his email. Okay, we would have had how do you call it, a certain connectivity. The ICT folks will tell you that an API will be created where our system will just speak to their system, and pull whatever information that they have ready, because it has to be ready by a certain time stipulation per our laws. If we do not have these situations in place, the shipping line is not going to create that system and give you the back end to use it. At most, they will tell you, send email. Okay, so if we want to talk about our relevance and our evolution, I think, like I said earlier on, our work is cut out for us. We have only one person to please, and we must put our money where we want our mouth to be going into the future.
Right. Okay, so I want to find out from you, there are those who are thinking that importers should be made self-declarants. That obviously will be a threat to you as freight forwarders, isn't it?
It's yes and no, but I dare to challenge just any importer who can brave the storm, no matter how even the books are digitalized. You need that knowledge to choose a particular HS assigned
to your consignment.
I made a earlier statement that all exports are going to be assigned with an HS. But it's coming from elsewhere. Is my country going to rely 100% hook, liner, and sinker on what has been documented? Else, what is the issue of risk management, the compliance, and all the things that Kwabena spoke about? So, some people will be able to do. But the question is, if you are a trader and you want to do that aspect, including what you know doing best. Remember, Kwabena told you that the role of the freight forwarder is such that he is the pivot, he stands in the middle and connects or network with other agencies. He has done it over the period of time, and therefore he has established somewhat relationship. So it will be much more cost effective if that trader gives his document to the person who knows how to do it best. So for me, I don't see it. Maybe I'm not seeing it because of how wide I have read and knowing what steps I must take in order to become more relevant, even in the face that even if there is a legislation that there is no more going to be a freight forwarder or a custom house broker. Because always my clients don't have even the time to go around. So he will still, and currently, all the self-declarants, they are using the services of the brokers.
Right. Okay,
so it's just on paper.
Yes.
But practically speaking, they're still using the custom broker.
Right. Okay.
Just a quick intervention.
Okay.
You see, I've been with Mr. Agbaga for a very long time now. I just like his sense of optimism, you know. You see, but let me ask you this question. If you do ask the questioning here, all right, but how do the AliExpresses, the Amazons get the stuff to your house? You see, the space in which we are, and ICT, if you take logistics service provision, when the process is adequately mapped, okay, the historian will tell you the rest is history. If AliExpress, Amazon, they go through all these processes, they get the HS codes right.
Right.
You see, it is just about taking out a certain element of mistrust. Okay? If you can get the processes right, you order something, AliExpress, it is, however it is sourced, you don't even know.
Right.
The next minute, it has been delivered to your house. Yeah. That is the process that has been mapped. That is why I'm saying that no matter how the process has been mapped for these online service providers, let's begin to look at it from our section 2. You see, let's not be, how do you call it? Extremely optimistic. You see, he has endeared himself to that client of his.
Yeah.
That is what I'm advising, however that he has done it. You see, on the whole, we all have to endear ourselves to our clients, but scientifically, so that when your client adds your 1 + 1, he knows that it is 2.
Absolutely.
And then he will not have any cause to want to either get rid of you. Because if it is just about customs brokerage, anything can happen there. But you still have work to do for your client.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of work to do for your client apart from customs brokerage.
Right. We're told that under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, importers, so to speak, are not supposed to patronize your services. I don't know how right this is, but I just want to find out from you whether you are aware of this and what that portends for you as freight forwarders.
I would really have loved that Mr. Agbaga takes a bite at this field, because they are in the AFCFT thing very, very well. But I have a story to tell on that one.
Okay. Yeah. I can't wait to hear it. Yes.
Frankly speaking, when it comes to freight forwarding industry, I made mention that both domestic and cross-border trade, the relevance cannot be ruled out.
Okay.
Some of the things can be eliminated, but there are certain core issues that cannot be
done away with at all.
Done away before. So it's up to you to look at all the cards that are being put on the table. And I understand Kwabna's point of view very well. But I'm also looking, within that space, I'm also looking at something in there that customer still needs you. So it is up to you. Whilst taking steps to bridge the gap and to brace the digital world, we still must make ourselves relevant. I'm not discounting his assertion at all. And this, he knows that we have had a conversation over it over and over again. I understand his point. Even the Amazons, because of your knowledge, even if it comes to the critical, you will be staying in your home and they will subcontract that aspect for you based on how you have prepared yourself for the new age.
Based on how proficient and efficient.
Yes. So for me, that is how complicated my thoughts are. But it's if you sit just a short while, I will not be able to give you break every silo.
Right.
And coming back to AFCFTA, it's not just about the clearance. May I look at other things? The clearance aspect is the last resort.
Okay.
AFCFTA. If we will be able to even to ship our goods by sea to even Nigeria here.
That's the story.
Right?
Yes.
Do we have even the vessel that will move goods from here to Nigeria in and out? And how much are they going to be paid when they dock in our ports?
Yes.
Have we looked at how much it will cost them, whether when the current cost that is prevailing, whether they will be able to do that business?
Okay. All right.
It's more complicated than...
We don't have enough time, but I understand we have a caller. So let's pick the caller. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I am an ex-executive secretary for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders.
Oh, Captain William Amanshia, I can get from the voice. Captain William Amanshia.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, great. It's been ages, Captain. Please flow.
There was this problem, there's this thing going on, and I would have loved to, contribute.
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, people are saying, and you are just saying that the freight forwarders are not important in the African Free Trade Agreement, which is really very wrong. It's very, very, very wrong.
Right.
Because we need the freight forwarders in the sense that we must have what we call freight stations all around the various places, countries, so that when you want to move goods from maybe, one small village, maybe let's say my village in Oda, you don't need to bring the goods to Tema. If you have a freight forwarder, he will be able to arrange for the goods to be moved from the Oda to wherever they want to go, West Africa, any place, or South Africa. But if we don't have these freight forwarders, nobody can move the goods from, say, Oda, and an ordinary person to move it to wherever in South Africa or whatever you call it. It's really wrong. The freight forwarders are now even more important than what they were before, because we have what we call multimodal transport.
Yes.
The freight forwarders are now able to move goods, whether you don't need airlines, you don't need shipping lines, you just only need a freight forwarder. He will be able to move the goods through road transport, air transport, and all that sort of stuff. Please don't let us make the mistake of thinking the freight forwarders are not relevant.
Great.
They are very relevant, especially in the in the process now of African Free Trade Zone. They are very, very important. We don't want to make that mistake that we say anybody can do it, anybody can do it. And you find out that the average Ghanaian shipper, their knowledge about international trade is a little bit not up to date now. But the freight forwarders are well trained, and they will be able to manage it. It's a mistake that we are making if we think the freight forwarders are no longer relevant.
Great.
That's all I want. I've got more, but
thank you very much indeed, Captain William Amanshia, former Executive Secretary, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. You couldn't have said it better. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, Mr. President, you didn't finish when the call came through.
Yeah. AFCFTA needs the freight forwarder more than before.
Absolutely.
More than before. And I went on a certain tangent about which may also address your last question about what we are doing to reduce
the cost, yeah,
the cost of doing business.
For importers, yeah.
It dovetailed what the statement that I made dovetailed into it.
All right.
There is an international body who is looking at how to make the transport of goods within the West African
sub-region.
Yes.
We can continue from there. But let's welcome Gideon from Taifa onto the show. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Gideon, please flow.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. And I must recommend our seniors are doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm a fleet weather myself.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
My question is, when it comes to clearing, we have the handlers. Like, and more specifically, I want to focus on the courier service.
Right.
We have those who handle the courier service. And the freight forwarder, basically handle the clearing.
Right.
But the handlers are now holding the clearing aspects of their job. They are supposed to be handlers. They are supposed to bring in the items, and the freight forwarders will go in and clear.
Right.
But the situation on grounds is that the courier service are handling what the freight forwarders are doing.
Right.
So basically, they are taking their job out from their hands. And I don't know what the leaders are doing about it. Any measures to make sure the handlers be in his lane and the freight forwarders also be in their lane. Thank you. That's my question.
Gideon, thank you very much indeed. And one question that I would have asked, or I still want to ask, because we have barely 7 minutes to go, is the fact that there's been this long-standing issue of foreigners, infiltrating the freight forwarding trade in the country. All right, I've been told we have to wrap up, so we do not have enough time. You were going to tell us a story, but I think that we'll come back some other time.
All right.
And then we can wrap up. So viewers, this is how, unfortunately, we have to draw the curtain on this week's edition of Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. We've been taking a look at the relevance of the freight forwarder in the international or global shipping space, and we've been doing a discussion with Mr. Kwabena Ofosu-Appiah, former president of the Ghana Institute of Trade Forwarders. He's also a fellow of the Center for International Maritime Affairs Ghana, CIMAG, and we also have in the studios Mr. Joseph Agbaga, who is also a former president of the Ghana Institute of Trade Forwarders. Gentlemen, thank you very much for obliging us. We are grateful to have you in the studios tonight, and we know that as and when the need be, and we call on you, as usual, you would oblige us.
That's right.
We entreat you, viewers, to keep watching the rest of our programs here, and we'll also tell you that the abridged version of Iron Port will be aired on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Make a date and watch that particular show. We say thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, Goel Company Limited, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, and Meridian Port Services. Remember, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. God willing, next week, we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of the show. My name is Kennedy Mona. Good evening, and have a super week ahead.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.